How long should somebody go to jail for assault, felony vandalism, disorderly conduct, marijuana possession, felony obstruction of
No
justice,
days.
public intoxication?
Keep reading all the motherfucking charges. No days.
Well, I'm not claiming that you committed any crimes. I'm just asking how long somebody should go to jail for also misdemeanor assault, alcohol intoxication, terroristic threatening, public intoxication, resisting arrest, and assault on a peace officer. You don't want to get arrested again.
I don't mind getting arrested.
I had a question about that. I'm not
get
talking
arrested.
shit about you. I'm talking
If you
shit
keep
about.
talking shit, you might get arrested.
Hey man,
Move your
you
motherfucking
watch out,
hand.
man. I ain't scared of you,
Move your
man.
motherfucking hand.
Hey, fuck you. Let me ask you a question. Go to. Hey, sit down, please.
Oh man, if you're unfamiliar with that guy, his name's Matan. Um, I've seen him only do a handful of interviews, and I saw one time where he was on a panel with Tim Pool and a couple other people who were arguing with a couple other guys that were like left leaning and or leftist entirely, really. Um, and he was without a doubt the comic relief of the session. But I think my favorite, aside from that one, which is really good. My favorite one is the one he did with Gavin McInnes because, well, he always has, if you notice in the opening scene, there's a guy who's sitting on the couch or whatever with Pac-Man Jones there, who's just he's just pissed from the start. He's like, why the fuck am I here? And when Gavin came, that guy was laying on the floor. He always is like he's pretending. I guess he's pretending to be like blackout drunk every time or something. Gavin just walked in and stepped over him, like literally walked over his body and then sat down on the chair. And then when he walked out, he walked back on top of him again. And the other part was there was a fire extinguisher on the wall, and Don kept holding it up, and Gavin's like, "Dude, don't you fucking dare, dude." He was like, "I'm gonna fucking kick your ass if you freaking spray me with that thing." Oh, it was hilarious, but he puts on a fantastic show. I highly recommend Matan. I wish I knew more about like all the other stuff he does, or really anything he does. I only really catch him mostly in shorts. But anyway, welcome. Sorry for the delay. I got yesterday. I had to edit so many clips, and it took forever. And today I didn't have that many clips to edit, but my fan or my other camera, it doesn't have a fan. My main camera has a fan. My side one didn't until today, and it came, but this one is set up so funky, I swear, that it's almost impossible to get a fan to be pressed up against the body to be able to work in any way to actually put it in that spot. But I finally found one yesterday, or like 3 days ago, and it basically was one that instead of attaching to the back by having some kind of spring-loaded arms that use sort of the tension of it being smashed up against the inside walls to keep it in place. This one actually just attaches to the cold shoe, and either attaches to the cold shoe or it attaches to the bottom mount for a like a camera rig. And what happened? I basically I was like, okay, great, this is cool, but there was still no way to get it to fit on there perfectly, so I could get it in a position where it was about half on. And I think that did the trick because I hear the fan working. I think this one's supposed to work off of temperature detection, and as opposed to the one I have on my main camera where it detects. It works off of just two different fan speeds, and someone selects what speed they want. This one, by contrast, actually works automatically. And by the way, because someone asked me this the other day, just in case, I think that his I've never had cameras overheat at even when recording film or anything, but I've never streamed at 2K before. So I'm thinking it's because it's the 2K filming. Um, I don't generally run at 60, which I've talked about before. I think I've talked about before why I don't run at 60. At least for like if I'm running a video game stream, I might run the camera at 60. But for regular streams, just me, it's kind of pointless. So um, anyway, but without further ado, let's get into this because there's a lot to cover today, and it'd be better if we get into it sooner rather than later. Because my God, with the Iran war coverage constantly blowing up in everybody's face and talking about nothing but that all the time, there's been some other stuff going on that um, it wasn't really. At first, it was kind of like, well, I should cover some of this stuff, but then all of a sudden, that started really getting some attention and blowing up, in particular around illegal immigration and some of the things that have been going on. There's, of course, the infamous court case, which I'm going to go over today because I'm thoroughly disappointed in the Supreme Court for birthright citizenship and their decision there. It's a totally ridiculous decision. We're going to go over some very specific very specific points on the what is it, 19th Amendment that basically kind of clear up the whole intent um, behind the amendment, and it's not that it's only for slaves. There's far more to it than just that, but it definitely doesn't apply to someone who's not a citizen, who is illegally here, regardless of their country of origin, um, and without a doubt, it shouldn't be rewarded. Um, One of the main reasons why it is becoming such an issue is because the Chinese are really taking serious advantage of this. I've heard upwards of 30% of the female population in China are being conscripted by the Chinese Communist Party to um, take advantage of this by coming to the country, having their child, taking their child back to China, but taking them back as a U.S. citizen. And then after they grow up, they go through school, they're indoctrinated, and then they're ready to utilize their citizenship at a adult age. They come back, and then God knows what they'll be. They're going to take advantage of that in the most perfect way possible, and it would be obvious why, because it's a stupid blind spot that should have been closed. But of course, they're going to lean into this ridiculous idea that somehow the framers decided if you were born here, then you were an American, which is the most ridiculous idea that you could. Like, there's no nation on earth that would think that is a reasonable policy to have. Yeah, let's just have a mad dash to the country, and if you make it and you have a kid, then congratulations. It's just ridiculous. Also, last minute, something came in really interesting from last night that that I wanted to cover because I don't know what the hell's been going on here. I don't know how this popped up, but all of a sudden Tucker took aim at Patrick Bet David for some reason. I have no idea why. It's a really weird target to take, especially when it comes to like this idea of Islam and Christianity and how they're such good friends and they get along no problem. It's all the Jews' fault. Um, and man, got some quotes from Tommy Robinson about Tucker Carlson. I'm going to play too, and also a real brief clip of because one of the things we'll be going over today is uh, some parts of the military and the Democrat plan with Pete Hegseth. there's a moment with Morning Joe where he makes a complete fucking idiot out of himself. So we're gonna go over that, and finally, I'm gonna try to get to the last part with Brian Shapiro and his embarrassing appearances as of late because the guy is a complete fucking clown, and now people are starting to take notice, including actual Justice Warrior. What's the game? His name is Sean Fitzgerald, I think. Yeah. But anyway, let's get started with our little problem with ICE and immigration. So I can't remember what I was going to play first, but let's get started with some clips here because I just want to get rolling as fast as possible. There's a lot of stuff to get to, and I just slapped it all together and said, let's just do it. Let's do it. Let's see. Oh, there's also something interesting here related to. Well, maybe we can start with this because the media reaction and online media reaction is absolutely um, insane, and it's just like, man, wow, they are taking their marching orders so directly from the DNC. It's like pathetic how on the nose they are with the messaging. Um, but let's see here. Ah, yeah, this would probably be a good spot to start with because yeah, let me just make sure. Mm, I have a funny clip of Eric Swalwell, but I wouldn't normally want to kick someone when they're down, but I mean it's Eric Swalwell. I have no problem with that one. Um, so I might play that one in a minute. But that's going to actually relate to a much broader issue, which I was going to touch on because it's related to the illegal immigrant problem. It's related to all the problems basically, and it's a demonstration of what is wrong with Congress. I think I referenced this clip, but I wanted to play it because I think it's really important you guys see just exactly what your representatives are doing, and it's not very pretty. But anyway, yeah, I think this is a good place to start. This is Matt Walsh uh, bringing up. Oh wait, no, this is of yeah, no, this is the wrong one. This is Canada, Canada, the Canadian clip, but that wasn't it. Well, maybe I will start with the clip with. Yeah, yeah, that's what I'll do. So let's start with this because this is a good place. Because I've been hearing from people both in real life and I've been hearing from people on television, and I've been getting kind of it's kind of strange because I'm starting to get the feeling that the people that are acting like it's not really that big a deal are the ones who are secretly celebrating this quietly and without trying to be open about it. But it seems like the this year's taxes were pretty good to a lot of people. Their tax returns seem to be fairly beneficial, and what I've noticed is that um, the people that are talking about um, the talking positively about the current tax system, they're getting kind of they're mostly people who are openly kind of more supportive of Trump, um, but no one is complaining except for people on the left, and they're bringing everyone's attention to the to the TSA workers and the what's it called, the border patrol, and to the the portions of the Department of Homeland Security that aren't getting funded. It's like, yeah, it's your fault, assholes. So, um, with that in mind, let's remember this point. It's been proposed because in the Senate, as far as I know, there's only two people that I've heard openly say that they don't take a paycheck during a shutdown, and that Kennedy and Cruz. Kennedy and Cruz both refuse to take their government paycheck as long as there's a shutdown going on. Now, we all know, as far as like the payments that you get, they're retroactive, so they fund you back for all the time you missed in one big payment that they get when the shutdown is over. But um, technically that is still not being funded. Now, I'm still for I'm still for the nuclear option, and I'm getting more and more strong in that conviction as we go closer and closer to the midterms, because these half measures, like using one of the one of your reconciliation bills to be able to push this through, just to pay people that should have already been paid, and you're having to use reconciliation to do it. It's a waste of reconciliation. You should be saving reconciliation for things that are more important. Like I keep saying, reconciliation should be going to funding for whatever agency is going to have to handle the Save America Act and go through all the required financial expenditures that are going to go along with implementing it. But because reconciliation bill has to be involved with funding, but I say, okay, we'll mark it down as a funding bill. It's not like it's going to be free. The Save America Act is going to be something that is going to have to be implemented by spending money in large amounts across the states. So it's not limited to one jurisdiction. It's literally the entire federal economy. So why not have that be a part of reconciliation? If you could make just the ICE and Border Patrol funding a part of reconciliation, and thereby destroy the whole funding structure of departments as overseen by Congress in the first place. Like I've said before, that's not the way the bills are supposed to be funded, because they're supposed to go to, like in this case, it would go to Mark Wayne Mullen. Mark Wayne Mullen would distribute the money appropriated by Congress to everyone who is an agency under his leadership, and then the agency heads would hand it out to their employees. You're skipping that process entirely, and it's skipping the head of DHS entirely, and you're going directly to funding just Homeland Security's two immigration segments, and that's it. Why be doing that so specifically? On top of which, with the biggest reason, once again, you know what the Democrats are going to do if they get the Senate again. Now, I'm starting to wonder what exactly is going on with these people, because they're doing a lot of talking, and they're not doing a lot of talking when it matters or on what matters, and they're doing a lot of talking about subjects that are kind of not pointless, but like, where's the action? Where's some do something? Like, I'm starting to see some signs of it, but like, they need to get this aggressive push going. I saw this today. We'll be going over it. Some of the victims of illegal immigration and victims of violent crime, and the family members of people who've been murdered, and that was very powerful. But once again, Democrats decide, no, we shouldn't be having this hearing. We should be talking about Epstein. We should be talking about this. We should talk about that. Fuck you, literally. Like why shouldn't we be having a hearing on this? You guys kept talking about how important the border was, and talking about how we needed to secure the border, and we needed comprehensive immigration reform, and now the border's closed, and how about we hear about what the people think of it? Especially people whose loved ones were murdered by these sick people you decided to let in without vetting properly, and without giving any kind of real oversight look into their any records that might exist of their criminal history. No, you just waved them all in. Um, so um, this is a clip where Senator Kennedy is proposing that, like him and Senator Cruz, that the entire Senate will likewise not get paid during a shutdown. Now, this illustrates perfectly the mindset of your modern day senator in Congress on both sides for the most part, because I almost guarantee that there's people on the Republican Party that are glad that Democrats were willing to do this, because um, they don't want it to look bad on them right now in this election year, especially. But this is a freaking this is a stain on the entire Senate and in a way in the House, because it's not far off. So let's check this clip out, and you can see how you think about what the people in Senate, which maybe one of these people might be your senator if you're watching right now. If they are, I'm sorry, and I have a shitty one too, so I can empathize. But anyway, let's check this out, because like I said, I think this is really illuminating. So it's a fairly long clip, but I'll try to skip around if I need to. I did try to trim it down as much as possible, but yeah, let me pull this up. Okay. Okay. So it's introduced by Senator Bernie Moreto. I believe he's a co-sponsor for the bill. And then it'll be followed by Senator Kennedy afterwards. So let's get on with this. Come on, full screen. I need a full screen on my hotkey, but my hotkeys. Okay. All right. Volume's on. Here we go.
And there's a concept that's important in creating a culture that says, as a leader, you must be willing to live in the shared experience of your team. Now, I will contradict a little bit of what you said. Each of us in this chamber make $175,000 a year. That's not what the average American makes. That is dramatically more than the average American makes. And it's certainly a lot more than what the average TSA worker makes, what the average FEMA worker who's got to go out and help places all over the country. I saw the very sad storms that Hawaii is seeing, and I hope we get help to those people. But it's not going to be me that goes there. It's going to be the hardworking men and women of FEMA that go there, and they make a fraction of what we do. I can't imagine having a job in which, for the third time in 6 months, you have to explain to your wife or husband or kids, hey, I didn't get a paycheck today. And the kid's looking at you going, well, what did you do?
Yeah, that's what's crazy. And on top of that, how many times have they shut this down already? It's wild. Like they keep doing this. And once again, this is not like, you can't twist the facts. Who's voting for the continuing resolutions, and who's voting for the bills, and who's voting for the funding? Well, it's a party line vote, and almost all of them are Republicans, with a few handful of exceptions. And even some Republicans are not voting for it. Particularly, one name coming to mind always is Thomas Massey, and of course Dave. What's it? Freaking man. I don't know why I can't think of his dumb name. Dave Smith. Yeah. I don't know why that was hard to remember. Thinks that Thomas Massey getting reelected is one of the most important things that can happen. Yeah. Why? So he can run around bitching about Epstein some more? Okay, yeah, of course. Yeah, that's super important. Okay, sure. Anyway.
Like, what did you do to not get a paycheck? Were you insubordinate? Did you not show up for work? Did you yell at your boss? Nope. I did everything right, other than work for the Department of Homeland Security. why would you stay in that job? And I think that's the thing that we don't understand is people have breaking points where they just say, I'm just not going to work here anymore. And this particular agency, more than anything else, has a very simple charter to protect us from dangers from abroad. These are the people that chase transnational criminals. I don't think any of us in this chamber would be willing to go do that. It's tough work. It's brutal work. They put their lives at risk. Not only do I think we should give them their paychecks, I think we should say thank you. Thank you for being willing to do this job. And I'll end with this to my colleagues. We have to eat our own dog food. If we don't eat our own dog food, we will get disconnected permanently from the people that we serve. If we're willing to accept a paycheck that is 3-4 times what the average American makes, and we deposit that every month, we say, well, look, I got to pay the bills. I don't care how wealthy you are. If somebody's a multimillionaire or not a multimillionaire, 175 grand a year is a lot of money. Certainly enough to pay the bills. Just ask the people who make 3 times less than that. They figure out how to make the bills. And this isn't about giving up the paycheck or giving up money, which, by the way, I think we should. Like, I don't think we should get paid retroactively. I think we should just say, hey, look, you didn't do your fundamental duty, which is to fund the government. And if you have a policy dispute, then do the hard work. Go into the rooms and make the calls and
on that. I don't really
go out there and persuade your
another.
colleagues. But in the meantime, don't punish the workers.
But that's the most important part.
Don't punish the workers. I grew up coming to America in the 70s and 80s. I looked at Democrats like Tip O'Neill and JFK. These were Democrats that said, above all else, we are the party of the working man and woman of this country. We are for the people who built this country. The very wealthy, they're just fine.
I heard that was the black people.
They're just fine. But we focus on the working men and women of this country. And what drove me to run for office, not what I expected ever to do in my life. Believe me, never did. But I do consider it a great honor. Every day, including today, beautiful sunny day, I see the Capitol, I'm like, my God, what would my mom and dad think if they were alive? That their youngest son gets to work in the United States Capitol. It's crazy. It's literally, you know what my mom would say? Only in America. Only in America. But there's 260,000 families that aren't feeling the love right now. The least we could do today is say we join you in that shared sacrifice. We join you so that we can understand what it's like to have to leave here and say, hey, yeah, not good. We're not going to get a paycheck because we didn't do our job. And if we don't do that, what do you think the message it is? You're much more elegant than I am. I think the accent does you 80% of the bidding there. But what do you think that says? What is it? Here's my question. What does a signal of saying, no, 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 we insist on getting paid 3-4 times what the average American makes. We're not willing to sacrifice anything because maybe we're special. Is that the message that's sent? Yield back.
Here, Mr. President, and my good friend Senator Moreno, is the message that it will send if we do not pass this resolution. If it weren't for double standards, we wouldn't have any standards at all. If it weren't for double standards, we wouldn't have any standards at all. Now, the American people see what's going on. As I've said before, not every American reads Aristotle every day. They're too busy earning a living. They're too busy getting up, going to work, obeying the law, trying to do the right thing by their kids. As usual, Senator Moreno makes very salient points. He's aware, as am I, that once again, this is a resolution that just affects the Senate. It doesn't affect the House. Senator Moreno is well aware, as am I, and every member of this body, that this is a bipartisan resolution. To change the Senate rules, I had to go to the Rules Committee. My
Listen to this part.
resolution,
This is
our
wild.
resolution,
When you watch what happened,
passed the
Actually,
Rules
I wanna-
Committee unanimously.
I want to make sure I emphasize this point. So, the way obviously it works in the Senate, in case you're unfamiliar, is like if you're bringing a floor vote. I feel like I've talked about this recently, so I'll just go over it quick. If you're bringing a floor vote, you have to get it run by at bare minimum, it has to be run by the majority leader and by the party leader that you represent. So, like it has to be passed by, it has to be accepted by leadership in order to be brought up on the floor. And in this case, and in some cases, it has to be run through an appropriate committee and approved on by a vote from that specific committee to be considered for a floor vote, which means that if there's no objections when someone goes to the floor, I mean, everyone knows when there's going to be a proposal, and if anyone from either party wants to object, they can object after the bill has been introduced and discussed by the author / authors. And then if they sometimes there's a choice to add some provisions, introduce an amendment, or to modify the language in some way. But if none of those things are discussed and there's no objection, then the bill is passed. So, as he said right now, when he brought it to the Rules Committee, which there's a minority representing the Democratic Party there's a party in the minority, and then there's a majority represented by the Republicans. So it could have just won for party line vote like Democrats always do, but in this case, it was unanimously approved by the Rules Committee and the Senate. Democrats and Republicans both agreed that this is okay. Bring this to the floor. Let's vote on this. Watch what happens. Watch what happens. This is amazing, and it gives you a perfect idea of what is wrong with this place.
Every single Republican and every single Democrat voted for this resolution. What I hear Senator Moreno saying in a very eloquent way, yes, there are varying degrees of wealth in this chamber, but we all make $170 grand a year. And that's a fortune for most Americans. I'm not saying that senators don't earn that. This bill's not meant to punish anybody. I know some senators who work so hard that 170 grand a year is probably equivalent to about $11 an hour. I mean, they're working all the time. This isn't about that. This is about shared values. This is about sending a message to our colleagues at TSA and elsewhere in DHS that we understand that we're trying to get government back open. But in the meantime, we're going to try in our small way to share your experience. So I would ask my colleagues, please, I don't like to talk too much about doing the right thing, because I think everybody in this body wants to do the right thing. We just disagree sometimes over what the right thing is.
I disagree with that.
But honestly, I don't see how
want to do the right thing.
Any one of my colleagues can disagree with either the spirit or the letter of this resolution. So, Mr. President, as if in legislative session, and notwithstanding Rule 22, I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to the consideration of calendar number 296.
Now, here we go. Oh, I did go over this, didn't I?
SRES,
I did.
rather,
We'll go
526.
over it again. I'm sorry.
Which
I
Senator
remember now,
Moreno and
'cause
I have just talked about.
it's worth going
And
over
further,
again.
that the resolution be
Sorry,
agreed
we're going to
to
have to go over it again.
and
Sorry
the
for everybody
motion to
that's watched, but
reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Is there an objection? The objection is heard.
Am I needed, Gary? Someone else?
That was ridiculous. And you're about to see why. If you forgot this, if you didn't see this,
With respect, I want to give my senator, my colleague, Senator Schatz, more time. As he objected and left the chamber, is he coming back?
absolutely not.
Well, wait, just one sec. I mean, is he
For a quick question?
Is he ill?
Oh yeah, he's ill all right. He's sick as a motherfucker.
What should I do, Mr. President? Should I give him more time or?
Oh, he doesn't need more time. He said.
Mr. President, point of order. Is it appropriate for someone not to be recognized to just say, I object and run out? The senator's not been recognized. The
I'll
senator
tell you
had the
later,
floor,
because he's
the
black
senator
people,
from
but
Louisiana, who's
he's
made a
crazy.
proposal, and then I heard some noise in the background, and that was it. But I never heard a senator being recognized, so it sounds to me that no one has been recognized to object.
What, could we get a ruling, Mr. President? I don't want to be unfair to anybody. My Democratic colleagues, I told them ahead of time I'm
An
making.
objection was raised, an objection was heard.
So should we give Senator Schatz more time to come back or?
He's not coming back.
Should we give him more time to come back and explain?
He doesn't want it.
Wait, I see the parliamentarian giving us
I'll go
some
ahead
guidance.
and cut it there because I forgot. I'm sorry. I forgot we did watch this, but once again, this is the party, the Democratic Party today. They have become cowardly little bitches who want what they want. They don't feel they owe anybody an explanation, and they're going to do what they want to do and fuck you. Because I'll say it one more time. As normal order goes, you would say. You would state your bill. You would ask for unanimous consent. When the clerk asks, "Is there an objective? Or is there an objection?" There would be a Mr. President, the senator from Utah, the senator from Connecticut, the senator from wherever, and then they'll reserving the right to object. This bill is absolutely stupid. We don't want to give up our money. How would we give up our money? We work hard. We're the hardest working people in the country. We're Democrats, damn it. Republicans could give up their money if they want to. They could write their own bill about it because they're so stupid. But we are the smart ones. We are going to keep our check. Therefore, I object. That's about what you could expect from a Senate Democrat who's a arrogant, pompous piece of garbage who wouldn't care about anybody getting their check because it is bad for President Trump for the agencies to not be funded. So they're going to vote for that. They're not going to vote for that. They're not going to vote for that bill. However, in this case, they don't want to explain themselves. They don't want to say the reasons why. They don't want to say, because they can't think of anything that would make sense to the people to hear. And they know most people aren't watching this anyway because this is after hours in the Senate. There's probably not many people who know this vote is happening. That's why I'm glad I did at least play it twice for that reason, because people should see this kind of thing more often. Should see your government hard at work for you. But once again, these people are not in any way concerned with United States citizens getting their paycheck. They just are. That's why they're so easy to say, well, the Trump administration, it's all their fault. It's all their fault. They could just keep saying that, and their sycophantic followers will believe that, regardless of who's the one who's pulling the strings here. And if there's a vote like this, all they have to do is say, I object, and run away. And I've seen this before. There was still a Mr. President, senator from blah, 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 I object, and didn't offer any arguments, but just took off. But I've never seen one not even use a mic. This is why I was remembering now. Not even use a mic to go up to the microphone to get the attention of the president overseeing the floor and openly and loudly across the microphone state, I object, and usually give some reason with reserving the right to object at the beginning of that statement. So just to see it done this way is just a reflection of the difference between what this body is supposed to do and what it's doing now, because honestly, this is just, I mean, this is a clown show. This is an absolute freaking, it's a joke by comparison to what this body should be doing. And I can't, drinking pool water in Michigan. I do know the water supply in Michigan is not good. There's a lot of lead in the water in Michigan, and there's been a lot. I don't know that much about the research that's been done, but I do know that it's one of the places in the country that has been very slow to clean up a lot of the former highly populated areas in the state where the water levels have been declining, and there's a real high lead content in the water. So, and this has been, there's been people, I don't know if this is legit or if this is conspiratorial or what, but there's a lot of discussion among scientists about things like brain disease and different types of mental illnesses that can arise, or even physical illnesses, of course, that can arise when you drink too much leaded water. So it's even been suggested in some cases, like in areas with high shooting levels and homicide levels, that one cause may be the leaded water, or even there used to be leaded paint that was used for the properties in certain areas, and the aroma that would be caused by the lead in the paint being all throughout the house, that's also been raised as a potential reason why there could be an issue with that. So I don't know for sure if there was a situation where they were forcing people to drink pool water. It's very possible that there was, they were looking for any kind of source whatsoever where they could find water in an emergency situation that they could get to the people. I can't say this for sure because I don't know for sure, but I do know that this has been a serious issue of concern for a very long time in Michigan, and Michigan in particular is just one of those states that has a history of. I mean they have a very leftist government. They had a very leftist government in the state for a long time, like California, where we've got raging wildfires because the governor is too busy preening in front of the fucking camera, and you've got the mayor of San Diego off in Africa for presidential celebration. So, and the Santa Ana winds come along, and it's always the same time. But but I mentioned this before, and I'll mention it again. You'll see some activity like on the news where Gavin Newsom decides I'm going to do a photo shoot. This is just kind of tangentially related, because if there was some sort of situation where like we solved we're dealing with the water shortages it's the best we can, meanwhile they're draining community pools and places that aren't functioning, like with a high number of people that are actually visiting them. But like with Gavin Newsom, he knew the forest was overly like there's way too much dead brush in the forest. There was this video shot for a news station of him like with these work gloves on out in the forest, just raking up and picking up dead brush and throwing it into compost bins, like that was going to do some big service. And it's just It's just a photo op. That's all it is. So, I guess maybe I might look into that just to see because I'm kind of curious what kind of issues um would be going on. Like it's the same reason that the Chicago Bears are leaving Chicago, and they're going to be moving to a new stadium either in a different place in Illinois, or they're going to be moving to what was the state nearby? Um, I can't remember now. It's a state next to the right next to Illinois, but I can't remember the name of which state it was. Anyway, and the state there, by the way, they're really trying to, they really want that money that would come in for the state to go to, the social and local sorts of issues that would be most benefited from it. Because when you have a sports team that is, especially a NFL sports team or a MLB sports team that is able to draw in large audiences, then you get travel from all those states to your state. It makes a lot of money that local governments can use, and everybody wins. We have in where I live, we have just a small arena with a ice hockey rink that has a team that plays double A hockey. I was a cameraman there for about 3 years, and I swear there was, you go there on a Friday or Saturday, there was anywhere from 6 to 8,000 people that would show up there. And this is not a big city. Like, this is not a really big populated city where I'm at. So that was huge for the city. They really, really were banking on, and fans in this town were really into it. Like, it's such a strange town, being part of California. There's a large Hispanic population here. It's not massive. It's not giant. I'm not near the border, but I've always said I'm not going to tell you where I'm at, but I'm in Central California, essentially. I'm around the Central Valley, and there was originally another hockey team that was very close. There's actually three AAA hockey or AA hockey teams in California. One's in. Well, I won't make mention of them, but I will say the Bakersfield hockey team. There was a Bakersfield hockey team. It had to declare bankruptcy, and unfortunately, they weren't able to keep up anymore. But there's still two hockey teams for AA hockey in California, and they play against people teams from coast to coast. So it brings in a lot of money, and Mayor Brandon Johnson, who's so constantly concerned with people from his state, supposedly, um, he really doesn't care at all about. He cares more about that ice, that new snow plow that said abolish ice on it. Oh, look at how cool it is! Look, this is amazing. Oh, yeah, you put a sticker on a fucking. You put a sticker on a snow plow. Wow, man, I'm sure that people won't be hungry anymore. But anyway, as far as the water, I'm sorry I can't answer you directly as far as for sure knowing, but I do know for a fact that that the water content in Michigan had leaded water problems for a very long time now, and if there was a issue where there was so little, because uh, you know I believe Michigan was one of the states that did get a large influx of immigration during the last administration, of course. So, and all those flights were under cover of darkness. They were at night, and they would fly them in and just disperse them throughout the state wherever they decided they were going to bring them. Um, and that's how New York ended up with supply shortages of all kinds of stuff. So there could have been some kind of issue where there was an immediate issue of supplies really being necessary, and I would hope that if there was any chlorine in the water that they did something about that before they or they drew on water that was but then again, how was the pool kept I don't know. That's a weird one. I'd have to look into it, but it could have been a proposal that was just talked about. I don't know, but I'll try to look into it because that does sound like it would be, there's I've been blown away, and you probably would all be blown away too at some of the measures that have been taken to deal with the immigration influx that was just so massive, and people just fail to realize, I think, how big of a wave of immigration it actually was during the last administration, to the point that what measures, what last minute issues were not foreseen ahead of time that came up after you accepted all these people. What were you doing? Were you able to accommodate them or no? Because obviously with shelter, that was one that was very obvious, because where are they sleeping? Oh, they're sleeping in hotels. Some are sleeping in airports. Some are sleeping, it's like they had to figure out something. And that's a good example of, like, an airport is a good example. When you have to pipe and drape a section of the airport off because you need it as housing for illegals, then you've accepted too many people into your state, without a doubt. But this is a situation, I would think, where, and it also depends on the relationship with other local governments. And I know that Michigan, that's Gretchen Whitmer, right? I think that's Whitmer. Anyway, Michigan would be, with J.B. Pritzker, they're thick as thieves, as far as I know, at least in public, But as far as their actual policies go, I mean, she's she's not she's not suited for leadership in any way, shape, or form. So, but it probably would have been an issue more likely for the local legislators, obviously, unless there was some kind of governor mandated order that went out for something like this. But I'll look into it and I'll get back to you as soon as I find out, because I am interested to find out now myself. Um, and once again, this is just another example of the side effects of illegal immigration. It was like when I played that clip in the last show, and people were ridiculing Trump for talking about how in I can't remember where it was. Was it Idaho where or was it Ohio where they were killing dogs and cats and they're eating them? Because I mean, that was legit. I saw a video of immigrants from other Latin American countries that were just sitting on a sidewalk with a cat and blood everywhere all around it, and them just like sitting there. They usually had like some kind of stick there where you look like they're bashing it, to death, basically. It's disgusting. But in their country where they have no food and they have to do what they need, that's normal. Because in third world countries, you see something like that run around. That's why there's no pets in third world countries. They can't survive feeding themselves, let alone feeding a pet. So if there's anything running around like a stray, they try and catch it and kill it and eat it. It's not an insult. You do what you have to do to live. But now that you're here, you should be well adjusted enough to understand that we don't do that here. But when your party is so sycophantically defensive of immigration and dismisses even the possibility that this could be happening, then obviously there's going to be, some information that's total bullshit. But anyway, sorry I couldn't give you a direct answer, but that's the best one I can give as far as that specific situation. And I swear I will look into this, and I probably will give a follow-up on the next episode if I find any kind of information out about anything to confirm that or not. But that's what I would think of the situation. Of course, it's disgusting. It's ridiculous, and something like that, if it was going on, they should be, if there was a way that they managed to find pools that were no longer being used by the public, that hadn't been used by the public, and had been somehow kept clean, or somehow been kept, pool water. Maybe it wasn't in a pool. Maybe it was set aside for a pool, and it wasn't even, wasn't even prepared yet with the chemicals. So, because I mean, everybody drinking chlorinated water, I think you're gonna have some serious health issues popping up all over the city. So, and I haven't heard anything like that happening. So obviously, if there was something dangerous, um, we would probably be hearing the results of that if it had already happened. But if it's something they're planning on doing, then watch for it because there may be some trouble. Um, Although that's like I said, I no for sure way to tell. The blue states, man. I'm really hoping that I've been following Steve Hilton and now um what's this sheriff's name? Chad Bianco. I've been following especially Steve Hilton for a long time, and he's been talking about the problems in California, and I'm really hoping that he can pull off a win. But if he can't, and Chad Bianco does whatever, well, I'll take what I can get at this point because my Lord, just don't let it be Katie Porter. Jeez. I was praying it wasn't going to be Swalwell, and now I'm cool with that. But jeez, we've got a fat lady problem coming in. Oh jeez, and I'm not slinging any mud from that statement at anyone but Katie Porter. The woman who will pour hot mashed potatoes on her husband's head because he didn't cook them right. So anyway, that's only meant for a radical, ludicrous, uh, insane broad like Katie Porter. But anyway, so as far as uh, the fallout from this, well, we've got all kinds of freaking stupid shit coming out from Democrats now, and this is the result. I think this is important to show you guys this because there's been some hearings in Congress, and they've been inviting a lot of the victims of violent immigration crime to the House and the Senate to testify. And every single time, without fail, Democrat talking point is, I don't know why we're talking about this. We should be talking about the Epstein scandal. We should be talking about how Americans aren't able to afford gasoline and groceries. We should be talking about. Okay, well, how about right now we talk about the people who are here who had their kids murdered by people that you defended and you vouched for and you claimed over and over again were just harmless asylum seekers looking for refuge in a country and fleeing persecution, and we all knew it was bullshit, but you guys kept saying it, and now these are people who were directly affected by that, and their kids are dead now. And instead of just listening to them, even, you have to sit here and try to, in whatever way you can, pass the buck or draw attention away, do whatever you can to draw away from the idea that it was your party that refused to even look into the charges against Alejandro Mayorkas. It was your party that refused to hold his feet to the fire in any hearing that you guys had. It was your freaking party that decided, yeah, well, it's a good thing that we have all these people coming in from all over the world and coming into countries and costing us trillions of dollars and more money and setting up, homeless camps and all this other crap that was a direct result, all this direct result of the open border, and you can't even own up to it. And now you're going to disrespect the victims of violent crime from the people that you let in because why? You can't suck it up and apologize for being complicit in this shit? No, of course not. Because one of the main rules of being a Democrat is never, ever, ever apologize unless it's a backhanded apology. I mean, meaning, I feel really bad for the people of such and such state. I feel really bad for the victims of this heinous crime. But let's not forget, it was the Trump administration that did this and this and this. Fuck off. Take some fucking responsibility. My God. So this was Senator Cruz discussing the situation with a victim whose daughter was murdered by an illegal immigrant. They're discussing Sheridan Gorman. I think that's her last name. who was also recently murdered by another illegal immigrant. And you can hear about some of the things that Democrats were doing in this hearing. So let's check this out real quick. This is really sad, but I think it's kind of important to hear. So let's see. Here it is. Okay. At the beginning, he's talking to someone who is just going over some of the stats and information around immigration and cities that particularly are advocates of sanctuary policy. That ridiculous idea. I swear, I'm so tired of them using that as some sort of catch-all defense against anything that illegals are doing in their state. It's just pathetic. But yeah, here we go. Let's go through this one. Like I said, just know this one gets a
Ms.
little
Vaughn,
emotional.
is it correct that Sheridan's killer had been picked up twice by law enforcement, but was
This
released
is the
both
worst
times?
part.
That is my understanding from the news accounts.
Is it also correct that he was picked up by Joe Biden's Border Patrol in 2023, but then released to roam freely within the United States?
Yes.
Is it also correct that Chicago police officers arrested him for shoplifting at Macy's in 2023, but then released him on the ridiculous assumption that he would return for his court date?
Yes.
Mr. Abraham, thank you in particular for being here today.
Thank you.
I want to extend my deepest condolences.
I appreciate it. I also appreciate Ranking Member Welsh and Mr. Padilla for recognizing that. What I don't understand is why my senator of Illinois, Mr. Durbin, haven't heard two words from him toward me. But sorry, I want to take your.
I can tell you why, because Dick Durbin is a fucking coward who is good at one thing and one thing only, and that is skirting responsibility and lying to the people about the truth of any given situation as long as Democrats are benefiting. That's why he's not there.
Time. Kind of amazing.
I think it is a fair question to ask.
Kind of happy he's calling it quits.
She was 20 years
All
old
of us are.
when she was killed by an illegal alien drunk driver.
That's right.
You know, just this week, there's a clip of Democrat Senator Chris Murphy on TV being interviewed.
You know what?
And he says,
Before he shows us what he says, let's watch that clip. I wanted to show you guys this anyway. So let me bring this up really quick. Because this is just... You want to know what Democrats think? This is where I got the title of the episode. You want to know what Democrats think? You want to know what they think of their constituents? Well, let's explore that just for a second. It's a very short clip. I'll just go through it really quick. Where are we at in this one in case I lose it? We are at 1 minute and 28 seconds, almost 1 minute, 1.5 minutes. So, let's see if I can, I know I got it right here. Ah, here it is. Yep. So what does Chris Murphy have to say about this?
For my 20 years covering this issue, the trade is this. They want more border security and enhancement.
Oh, yeah,
Democrats
Hayes.
want a path to citizenship.
The biggest douche
This
on
time
television.
around, the negotiation didn't have a path to citizenship. It was entirely on their terms in order to get Ukraine funding, right?
Well, I mean, Chris, that's been a failed play for 20 years. So you are right that has been the Democratic strategy for 30 years, maybe. And it has failed to deliver for the people we care about most, the undocumented Americans that are in this country. This is also not 2013 any longer when we ran that play last.
Now, what was that? What do Democrats care about the most?
strategy for 30 years, maybe. So you are right that that has been the Democratic strategy for 30 years, maybe. And it has failed to deliver for the people we care about most, the undocumented Americans that are in this country. For the people we care about most, the undocumented Americans. For the people we care about most, the undocumented Americans that are in this country. This is also not 2013 any longer when we ran that play last.
Interesting. The undocumented Americans. What the fuck does that mean, Chris Murphy? You fucking piece of shit. What does that mean? Undocumented Americans. That sounds like a misnomer to me. That sounds like an oxymoron. That sounds like a Democrat full of shit, is what it sounds like to me, who can't just state that these people are illegal aliens, illegally in the country. They're not supposed to be here, but they're illegal Americans, or undocumented Americans. Yeah, undocumented Americans. Yeah, go fuck yourself. That's how little American citizenship means to Chris Murphy, which is why being a senator means nothing to him, except for how to get more money and more power and more Democrats in office so they can keep, racking up. And that's why I swear with the midterms, I am concerned that these sick motherfuckers, I'm sorry, I'm going to go on a tirade here for just a second, but I'm scared to death that these sons of bitches are going to end up in a position to waste everybody's time, destroy President Trump's second half of his second term, lame duck president, make sure everything's done by executive order, meaning it's not going to last, it's a temporary fix, it's going to disappear as soon as there's no longer a Republican in the White House, maybe even if there is a Republican that isn't sympathetic at all to MAGA. But the point being that, if Republicans don't start growing a fucking spine right now and start doing things like passing the Save America Act, making sure that these undocumented Americans, Chris Murphy speaking of, that they aren't going to vote, and that, that we actually, do give a shit about supporting our president, who is, well, I'll get into the war in Iran later, but it's been laid out so obviously for people, and that they still don't get it. Like, I had to wake up to this not too long ago and realize, wow, the whole thing makes total sense, actually, when you think about it, because this is falling in line with two of his promises. It's pretty obvious. And once again, just one real quick nitpick. When people quote what he said, they quote it wrong. He never said he wasn't in support of no new wars. He said he was not in support of no new forever wars, meaning regime change, democracy bringing wars in the Middle East to countries that couldn't give a damn about democracy. They want their tradition in their country, whatever that might be. They might not want, oppressive and extreme ideological Islam controlling it either. But that doesn't mean that they want a Western-style democracy either. So we should let them have what they want. But that's not even the point of the not invasion, the war either. The point of the war is something else entirely, and it's almost entirely in America's interest, and what would have been in the interest of our allies in Europe. But since they aren't really going to matter at the end of the day, because none of them really seem to want to, it blows my mind that these are countries that have seen a Trump presidency before, that should know what it looks like and should know what he's trying to do, and yet they have no idea. They have no idea what Trump wants, and they don't get what he's doing by this attack on Iran in the Strait of Hormuz right now. I'll just throw this tidbit out. We'll get to it later, but here's a hint. 45% of Chinese crude oil comes from where? Iran. Plot thickens. We'll get to that later, though. Let me get back to that clip, and we'll keep going, because I swear, it's mind-blowing when you listen to... it's one thing for Democrats. For Republicans who are condemning it, like, I think you owe the guy a little. You owe the guy at the bare minimum the benefit of the doubt, a little bit. Just give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt that he knows what the fuck he's doing. He hasn't shown that he doesn't really know that yet. So why not just give him the benefit of the doubt just for one fucking time, please? Anyway. And people like this son of a bitch really piss me off. They really piss me off. How they can dismiss the idea of citizenship that to so many people around the world is this sacred thing that they would kill for is something he reduces to, who really cares? They're undocumented Americans. What a piece of garbage. Anyway, where was that? It was up top here somewhere. Here it is. So we were at
Ms.
1:30.
Vaughn, is it correct?
128 to be exact. Oh, well, there's 129, close enough.
The people that we care about most, and he's speaking about Senate Democrats,
We just saw it.
are illegal aliens.
Oh, undocumented Americans.
You know, there's an old line that a gaffe is when a politician tells the truth. Mr. Abraham, how does it feel listening to an elected representative say quite proudly that the people he cares most about, and he was speaking for every Democrat senator, he was saying the people we care most about are illegal immigrants. How does that feel?
Look, that's an indictment on him, I got to say. I'm not sure where citizens fit in all of this.
Oh, nowhere.
But
nowhere.
at least my experience over the last 14 months is we don't sit at the top. We are not.
And if you don't, then you're a Nazi.
Our stories are
you're a racist,
inconvenient
you're a
and therefore they're erased and ignored. So does it surprise me? No,
like Larry
it doesn't
Elder,
surprise me at all. I was not. I should be, but in today's world, that doesn't surprise me at all. And really, just a unserious thing to say, and I'm not sure why anyone in his state would pay attention to that.
The only thing I would respectfully disagree with is the word unserious, because I actually think he was deadly serious.
Oh, he
I
was.
think he was telling the truth. Yeah. And every Democrat had the chance to dispute it at the State of the Union address when President Trump turned to the entire Democrats and said, stand if you agree with this, that it is our duty to protect American citizens and not illegal aliens. And every Democrat in the Senate, every Democrat in the House sat stone-faced
and clapped.
And they told the American people,
I saw the video.
We agree with Chris Murphy. The people we love the most are the illegal immigrants. You know, the paper where Sheridan Gorman, the school paper, this week apologized to her murderer because the first story correctly described him as an illegal immigrant. What the hell is wrong with these people?
Good question, Ted.
I'm sorry, Mr. Abraham.
It was preventable. That's I think what everyone's missing here is that was preventable. That did not have to happen. He was identified. They knew who he was. He was pulled over by local police. Bang up job on that one. Let go to do this. And now we're okay. You know, Governor Pritzker will say, oh, look, you got justice. We found him. If crime happens, you're good to go. We got him, and he's incarcerated now. And my point there is,
your daughter should still be alive.
My daughter's in a grave. She'll never see the light of day. Will he? Yes. But what did you do for him? You did nothing for him. You left him aimlessly in Illinois, and now he'll sit in decades, hopefully, in jail. Bang up job, Illinois, on that one.
They're the people that Democrats care the most about.
You know, when you hear the parents of the people who were killed, it really is. That's what grounds it in reality and brings it back to the state. That this is over politics. This is over the party that controls this branch, that branch, who makes decisions for the country in some way, shape, or form, whatever. That's what this is about. And the party, there's one party that is obsessively constantly searching for more efficient, new, and better ways to make sure that their voter base is as reliable as possible. Like, say, if you bring them all in and give them all amnesty, then they're beholden to you forever. You guys remember during the Biden administration, the very early Biden administration, when there were some immigrants being questioned as they were crossing the border. Some of them were asked, why did you cross? Almost every single one of them, without fail, said, well, because Biden's the president. What does that tell you about Donald Trump? They weren't trying to cross under Trump. Say what you want. I mean, you can condemn Trump, you can not like Trump, you can disagree with Trump, but one thing you can't do is say that Trump is not effective at securing the country and making it far more safe for American citizens. And the idea that, like, but Alex Preddy and Renee Good, yeah, they went out and decided to fucking go and attack ICE officers. And every single person that's watched those clips, deep down, no matter what side you're on, knows for a fact, if you went up and kicked the taillight out of a police car, or tried to run a cop over with your car, or had a firearm on you that you didn't announce, and the cops noticed it, you'd either be dead or in handcuffs with your ass beat. Without a doubt, minimum. Or you'd be dead. So, what is so surprising about that? Sure, that shouldn't have happened, but who instigated it? Who called for it? Who is calling for it nonstop? Who's been calling for it nonstop? Who won't shut the fuck up about it? It's only one party. The other party, well, aside from all their other faults, is more than happy to let ICE do their thing, do what they do best, and round up illegals. And if, I swear, for all the, this is how you know there is an agenda where they don't really care. This is how you know for a fact that there's an agenda where they, if it wasn't already apparent as hell by all the other stuff, like wanting illegals to vote, not wanting to pass the Save America Act, coming up with every single excuse under the sun why they can label not just needing proof of citizenship to register, but why showing an ID to vote is racist. They can come up with reasons for that all day, but somehow act like there's just no possible way. That's how they can declare that the election for Biden was the most free and fair election in history. The ones before that, though, you know, the one with Trump especially, was Russia. That was all Russia's fault. I mean, is it just me, or are these like the most pathetically bad losers you've ever seen in your life? These are the people that make excuses for everything. It can't be their fault, never their shitty candidate, never their stupid policies, never their ridiculous ideas, like, you know, to chop the dicks off of 16-year-old boys because they think they're a girl. Like, that had nothing to do with it. It's Trump and its white nationalism and Christian nationalist party that, what the fuck are you talking about? It's ludicrous. It's insane. But, you know, there's one question that I wonder sometimes, and I haven't come up with an answer. Is that for them and their own ego, or is that for propaganda for the people that are watching? Because I can't tell. Or is it for both? Do they need that for themselves, and does their base need that as well to keep voting for this stupid shit? Because every time I hear, like, oh, that's not happening. You guys are banning books, though. It's like, no, there's nobody banning books. We're making sure that in libraries like elementary school libraries, they don't have books showing you step for step with visual aids how to perform a blowjob. Like, we've decided that that's probably not appropriate material, but nobody's banning books. You can get that book on probably any number of pro-LGBTQAIA plus bullshit sites, but in you know, elementary school libraries, not the place you would want to look for that book, not the place you would want to find that book, especially. But like, that's what I mean. when they get in front of mics and they make excuse after excuse that it was because of this, it was because of that, it's because of prejudice, it's because of people not not understanding that that Trump is going to take this country off of a, you know, it's just, I don't know. It just, for me, it just boggles my mind that represents not a giant chunk of people in the country, but a chunk that is loud enough that it gains all the media attention and a huge chunk of the attention of people in positions of leadership. That because that's the thing. I've noticed this, and we're going to talk about this in just a second because I want to get to this now. There's interesting feud a brewing, but geez, what was I going to say? Oh man, I can't believe I already forgot. I get man, I need to stop going off on like quick tangents because then I forget the really specific thing I was going to ask, and it was mm, um, like I know for a fact that Democrats don't lead their lives in the way that they prescribe everybody else should lead their life. I know that part for a fact. Like um, they're not putting themselves at any risk. They're not even people who generally. I mean, maybe some of them do, but they're not out um, on protests where people are um, getting tear gassed because they're trying to attack an ICE facility. Um, and if they are there, they are very, very safely protected behind their own personal security. Um, so there's no way in hell that, that they're at any kind of they're in any sort of danger whatsoever. But they really push these causes hard, and um, I swear I can't remember what it was. There was a question that was um, related to the whole situation, especially around the that was it. That was it. Um, do they think that are they under the impression, I guess, that MAGA really is fracturing, or do they know that that's stupid and they're just repeating it to try and make it fracture? Because a lot of what happens to the right is unfortunately self-fulfilling prophecy. It's something they say out loud. I hope that this doesn't happen, and then they end up, somehow soiling creating the seeds that lead to growing the exact conditions that you would need for that to happen. It happens so often. Luckily, the the people in the House and the Senate are marginally better than people like Paul Ryan, who is the leader of the House Republicans in the last Trump administration. But yeah, the idea that it's this huge amount of people. No, that's not it. It's a group of people who are all. That's why I run this show in a way where I'm going to give you guys what I think, and it's going to be popular. It's going to be unpopular depending on the crowd. I get that. It doesn't bother me. I've said many times. I'll take the good with the bad. I can roll with the punches. I don't mind if I look like an idiot sometimes. I'll get over it, and there's certain things that might get under my skin, but you have to. I mean, you can't be a pussy and do this. You can't. And I'm so sick of the pussies that do this because I'm so tired of the whining. Um, you know, people are gonna troll. That's what they're gonna do. They're going to troll you. People are going to do all kinds of shit that you're gonna potentially find reprehensible. You can't bring values into this that you're going to be acting like Mr. Tough Guy that you're going to run to the defense of every time somebody says it, and do this sort of thing in a way that anybody's going to care about or be able to take seriously because you look like a little baby. I am fully behind the concept of a free speech internet absolutist mentality. No limits on free speech online, period. I might fervently disagree with a lot of the people that are online, but I'll say what I want to say about it. And that's what I've found too when it comes to even some of the people that are quote unquote, the high profile Democratic supporters on social media. They use the same talking points and they just push them really, really loud. That's all they do. They just yell them at the top of their lungs. There's no better argument there. It's just people with the same perspective, but a more foul-mouthed, like me, but at the same time, a more dismissive and really just nasty, like a good segue. Here's a good example of that. Listen to what Destiny has to say about the recent tactics that they've been using when and what they are trying to get done. Like this is kind of what says it all. This is a good segue into the next thing I was going to talk about too. The feud that's a brewing. But this is I did play some Destiny clips not too long ago where he was talking to his moderator about how the forums were. His moderator brought it to him that the forums are starting to not really be joking about violence, and they seem to be getting more and more extreme and more explicit with threats against people on the right. And it's not just joking. It's not just people, making, funny ha-ha, the memes and shit. These are people that are probably dangerous. I mean, if you need an example, go look at Tyler Robinson. And no, don't. It's not Candace Owens' backwards, ridiculous Israel theory. I'm sorry, that's not part of the equation here. But there is a guy named Tyler Robinson who is a guy who is obviously propagandized by his gay furry boyfriend, the fur fag, who is part of a community of animal raping lunatic freaks that convinced Tyler Robinson that the world would be a better place without people like Charlie Kirk in it. So he decided he was going to go take a rifle and shoot the guy. And Destiny discussed on his stream about how if that happened, like he doesn't feel bad at all for anybody that was that's hurt by that, because Donald Trump is turning up the temperature, and it's like, yeah, he's turning up the temperature, all right. And so, I guess it's all his fault that Democrats haven't done anything to stoke this at all. It's not like they've been advocating for illegals to be citizens without any kind of consideration of their criminal past or anything like that. That they just be immediately admitted as citizens. It's not like they pushed an ideology of DEI, where it doesn't, no matter how hard you work, it won't matter if your skin is the wrong color, because representation is the most important thing. It's not like they did anything like, like I was talking about earlier, encourage healthy boys and girls to chop their dicks and breasts off because they thought they were in the wrong body. So, and move the idea to younger and younger audiences to start taking puberty blockers, start taking cross-sex hormones, to start doing. It's not like they did anything like that. Oh yeah, they did all that shit, and they're still doing all that shit. And they're mad that people who are XY aren't allowed to compete in the Olympics because in the female category because they feel female. It's just like that didn't turn up the temperature at all, according to Destiny. No, it's just all that evil Trump tweeting that's the real problem here. It's such a pathetic scapegoat. It's just, seriously, it's such a pathetic scapegoat for people that are desperate and need somebody to point all their rage at. Unfortunately, it's the same guy that got shot because you guys kept pointing your rage at him. And I would say, why is Trump obliged to obligated to bring the temperature down when he's the one that got fucking shot because you guys are raising the fucking temperature up? How about answer me that question? He doesn't have an answer to that question because he doesn't. Like, I still hear people trying to suggest the idea that who was it? Jesse Ventura. Trying to say, oh, come on, Pierce. You think that was actually what happened there? He didn't even go to Vietnam. God, what a fucking dumbass. Anyway, but yeah, sorry, I got off subject. This is Destiny's discussion with and what their goals are. You know what they're looking forward to and what they're hoping to do, and when they get their revolution going, I guess is what he's talking about. But anyway, direction of serious threats and not joking at all and being actual threats. But watch the way he responds to this, and this is the most wild part of this is his responses and how he says them so calmly and just like they're obvious. It's pretty nerve-wracking to say the least.
Why do you think that we need to like make stuff up? Why can't we just use
they do it because most of what they're doing.
Why do you think that we need to like make stuff up? Why can't we just use
they do it because most of what they're doing probably isn't.
Have to.
Most of what they're doing, no, we do because most of what they're doing is strictly speaking probably not illegal. So if we wanted to do something similar to what they do with Hunter Biden, we would have to act in a way that is not in adherence with the good faith that is not with good faith adherence to the law.
What they did with Hunter Biden, what did they do with Hunter Biden? Well, they brought in some of his former business associates, and they looked through, his work history and his companies, and noticed that none of them made money, but they were all passing a lot of money through their, bank accounts to other companies. You see, we call those shell companies, meaning they don't do anything except for mask where finances are coming from. But when you follow that all the way back to the source, yeah, it's coming from foreign sources. While his dad was vice president, there's a reason that they might want to know about that, Destiny. There's a little bit of a reason, and Joe fucking Biden himself admitted it. Why is this so hard for you to grasp? Does he need to turn the temperature down on that one, you dumb shit? Jesus Christ. I'm sorry, but
sure. But the reason that they had to do that with Hunter Biden is because Hunter Biden didn't do anything wrong, whereas they are doing things that are wrong.
Like what?
So we don't need to fabricate something.
Like what?
Defying the court orders, doing things.
You can't arrest somebody or subpoena somebody for defying a court order. That's up to the court to enforce. If we're using a violation of a court order to go on a fishing expedition, that's not a good faith adherence to the law, which is what you're saying we should do, which I agree we should do, but that's not a good faith adherence to the law. I don't want Congress to normally go on fishing expeditions for everybody because they happen to violate a court order or something.
Like, you're taking things even further.
This is an important point, but what's so ridiculous is that Congress doesn't have the power to enforce anything. They're not an enforcement arm of the government. They don't have an enforcement mechanism. They have the power to refer, and that's it. So they can subpoena people to appear, and they can gather evidence and present it, but they can't enforce anything. So why are they talking about this in Congress when Congress is, I guess he's going full authoritarian for his worldview, and he wants Congress to have that power. But this is the most ridiculous line of thinking. He's openly admitting he wants it to be a fishing expedition, meaning we don't have any reason to do it, but we should just, have some kind of subpoena power to just go through a bunch of their stuff and see, because I'm sure they're doing something illegal. It's the same thing with the fucking Epstein files. There's no evidence that Donald Trump has done anything wrong, but it's got to be. It's definitely there somewhere. It's there, so they're just hiding it. It's so stupid. It's so stupid.
Then they're taking them. I think that we can just take them to the steps that they're taking it, and that's far enough.
They're taking it.
Like, why do we need to go even further? Like, why do we need to jail people without bringing up a trial? Versus,
because I think they kind of are, right? For all of the immigration stuff.
Oh, that's
yeah, but the immigration stuff is a little bit harder. That's like an immigration law thing that we're doing incorrectly, other than the U.S. citizen part. Which,
yeah, but they are doing it with some U.S. citizens, which is the issue. But like what you're saying.
No, they aren't. They aren't doing it with American citizens. There's been so few cases of American citizens even being detained by immigration. And when they are, they're released within, I think the maximum amount was 2 hours. They're not being shipped off anywhere. So you can take your little wet dream and fucking forget about it because it's not happening. But you've convinced yourself it is, I guess, so you're going to keep running with it. This is the worst part of all of this because it's like they convince themselves that all the bullshit that they talk about is actually true. It's actually all happening. And they can't point, when you press them, they can't point to one example. They'll bring up something like what's that piece of shit that was, advocating for Hamas? Jeez. They're trying to rightly get out of the country because he would have lied on his visa that he does support terrorism. Jeez, what's his name? Frankly, I don't even care what his name is. Fuck his name. Fuck him. Fuck his name. Fuck his intention. Mahmoud Khalil. I just remembered. Oh, jeez. Anyway, like, but if you're going to argue that that's an American citizen, somebody that has a visa, a student visa, I'm going to argue no. No, that's not a legal citizen. That is a temporary resident who is here for a certain function of our one of our services or one of our sectors of that you would be brought in for. In this case, education, which I'm sure he's getting a bang up education. Sounds like it, doesn't he? But once again, if that's what you're talking about, okay, yeah, they are revoking people's permission to stay in the country because they found out that they don't support the country. In fact, they're openly trying to advocate for individuals or groups who are opposed to the country, and that's not what they're invited in to do. They're invited in to do something else entirely, and they're doing something else. Marco Rubio is 100% right about this one. So, yeah, no, sorry. And in the cases where we are removing people, and you talk about judges in courts, yes, we are. I'm not part of the administration, sorry. They aren't doing anything that is outside the scope of the legal system. The legal system, by which we're talking about immigration court. It's a different type of court that has a different process of due process for someone that is having a case adjudicated there. And at the end of that case, when a decision is made, you can still appeal, but when you reach the end of your appeals, you get what's called a final notice of removal. No more questions, no more court dates, no more bullshit, no more whining, no more subpoenas and warrants and all the other shit that you need. They can take that final notice of removal and they can go and collect the illegal and deport them from the country. That's the way the law works, and that's the way it's always worked. And just because now you want due process to last, 20 years, because by then, you're sure, I'm guessing that there'll be enough illegals in the country and there'll be enough people convinced by your ridiculous bullshit that you'll have control of the House, the Senate, the White House. You'll have packed the Supreme Court. You'll have made new states and added new representatives, so you never lose any of those bodies. And you'll have destroyed the filibuster, and basically Democrats will be able to control everything. And that's what they really want. You want to know what they really want? That's what they really want. That's what Destiny would be, that's what he jacks off to. That, and I guess, maybe pictures of guys or girls and guys or whatever his weird fucking fetishes are. I don't know. But anyway, this is just ridiculous. And once again, his mods themselves are saying we're going further than the people we're opposing in trying to persecute our political opponents. Why are we doing that? Well, because they're kind of doing that already, right? No, they're not. It's amazing that they think that this is like a valid talking point. No, that's not what's happening. That's not what's ever been happening. You've convinced yourself that that is true. I don't know how you brainwash yourself so hardcore that this is what you believe, but I guess if you're a pathetic fucking piece of garbage who has nothing better to do with your time but but sit around and talk shit about people who you've never met, you never will meet, and has a different perspective on the country's law than you do. You're gonna treat them like they're a threat to the democracy. Jeez. It's not much.
Saying again is like the issue. We're going to loop on this. We're just going to fundamentally disagree, and that you think that like they're adhering to a rule set that I don't think that they're adhering to, and I think that they violated this.
That they're adhering to.
Yeah, but like what you just said was like playing within the confines of what they've stretched, right? So you're like, why would we arrest people without charges? I'm like, well, they kind of already are related to immigration. It's like, well, that's a different thing. It's always going to be a different thing.
Yeah, it is. You know why? Because it's written into the fucking U.S. Penal Code. That's why. It's part of U.S. law. Which is why the idea of, I mean, who's the one getting away with shit? You have the whole concept of sanctuary cities, which, by the way, by their very existence is unlawful. And you're saying that Republicans are the ones who are bending the law to work in their favor. I'm sorry, please explain that in more detail, because I'm failing to see where. Where? It's not immigration court. It's also not in courts, apparently, where people are released because they're believed to be good faith actors who are going to return when their court date comes, and they won't have to pay anything, even if they've been arrested 15 or 20 times. You're fucking ridiculous. I'm sorry, I'm getting animated. I'm getting really animated. This dude, I swear, he's turned into one of the most insane anti-American destructive people. The idea that he has a freaking ridiculous Charlie Kirk Turning Point ripoff called the Unfuck America Tour, where him and his little butt buddy Brian Shapiro, the biggest clown in the whole freaking Democratic Party, runs around and makes bad faith arguments, strawmans everyone's position, and doesn't really put forth anything but a confusing set of principles that have no real principle at the center of anything. They just have things that are disguised as principles. Like, I believe in amnesty for the people who are here, like, okay, why should they get amnesty when people are waiting in line right now to be accepted into the country by doing it the right way? And I even heard this. This is getting bigger in the UK, by the way. But the idea that you don't have to have you don't have to have the desire to integrate with the society that you're moving into. When you immigrate to a new country that has a different sort of set of customs and rules and laws and norms, you shouldn't be expected to integrate to that culture. And that's why Britain is being destroyed right now, by the way, because they decided that integration is not important. That it's racist to expect people to integrate. And I say, well, have fun losing your country. So anyway, moving along very quickly again, because it's just too much to go through. It's never ending. This I really wanted to get to. We'll go ahead and get to the new spat that started, I guess I'll call it. I don't know what to call it yet, because not much has happened yet. But there was it's at the beginning of this clip. Tucker Carlson had this weird clip going after PBD, Patrick Bet-David. Now, first off, I guess it's because Patrick is really all kind of having people on, usually leans more to the right and more towards MAGA, but and is definitely not on the side of Candace Owens, definitely not on the side of people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, or Joe Kent, and these clowns. But Tucker is going after him for things he said about Catholicism, and that Vinny also mentioned about Catholicism. And it's a perfectly valid point. It's nothing really inherently negative. It's just stating something objectively true. And when you use words like dictator or you use words like authoritarian, theocracy, or things like that, it becomes a bad word because in the past they were used for a negative purpose. That doesn't mean that every theocracy around the world that works in a way that would be considered a theocracy. That doesn't mean that it inherently is an evil thing. If you have a theocracy that is using its beliefs to kill or imprison or torture people in the country based on not adhering to that theological belief, that's when it becomes an issue. And somehow Tucker seems to believe that if you're a theocracy, that entails all those things. So if you insinuate that the Vatican is a theocracy, then that means they're just like Nazi Germany. So anyway, there's way more to it than that, but that's one of the more wild points that he makes. I don't understand how the hell you can be of adult age, especially when you lived long enough to watch. Now, I get his position on one thing where he really regrets his support for the Iraq war. I get it, but okay, real quick before I start this, there's this concept, and it's existed for a long time. It goes back to early days of like what do you call it? Message board culture and things like that. What the hell? Sorry, it looks like I dropped you guys for a minute. I hope you guys picked that back up fast enough. That was weird, but just making sure that everything's all right. Hold on. This is weird. Yeah, it looks like it's fine. Okay. Sorry. Hope you didn't miss too much. Anyway, I can get being sensitive to that idea if if you feel guilt about supporting the Iraq war, but there's this term goes back to the early days of forum culture called trolls remorse. And that's for people that, when they're a little bit younger and they're into trolling people, they feel like they went too far. They were too focused on maybe an individual person. They drove that person to into God forbid self-harm or even worse, suicide. Oh man. But because that has happened. People have executed themselves on stream because of nonstop harassment from trolls. But then there's this group of people who get out of it, and then they kind of go 180. Instead of being a hardcore immoral troll, they become a hardcore immoral anti-troll who is going to call out anybody that uses the internet to make jokes or make fun of people, some type of evil online harasser, or whatever term they want to use for it. That's what Tucker is with the Iraq war. It's like that has convinced him that war itself is what's immoral, not the circumstances behind the war. That we shouldn't have gone in, not because we had false ideas about weapons of mass destruction, but even if there were weapons of mass destruction, we still shouldn't have gone in. So it's just I don't know. It's a very odd way to deal with guilt, but it seems like that's what the mechanism is. It's him dealing with his former positions and being extremely ashamed of them, and rather than confronting them, he's kind of passing the buck on them in his own way to act like this is a repentance that I have to be a part of, to be able to make up for my past sins so that I'm forgiven. And it's like, no, all you needed to do was renounce the idea that or say that you were wrong on what you believed, and you aren't going to be so easily fooled anymore. Which I believe you did that a long time ago, but now instead you're doing this really weird sort of almost ritualistic sort of 180 turn where you have to propagandize what's going on as being evil. So it starts off with this discussion, straw manning Patrick Bet-David's statements and what he said. PBD, though, the rest of it is PBD, and this is very interesting. So let's pull that up. I'll just mention right off the start, I am not a massive PBD fan. I do like some of his stuff. Lately, he's kind of been kind of on some issues that I thought were kind of stupid. He said some things that I think were kind of stupid. As a matter of fact, he said things that I was like, wait, you're 100% wrong about that. Like, I know you're wrong about that. And it's like, it's not that hard to find that out. I found that out like 2 days ago, but anyway, so I haven't been 100% all that happy with the way their show's been going on lately, but more often than not, I usually find myself kind of more or less in agreement with him or the members. I've been very impressed with how much Adam has been kind of taking up the mantle of the perspectives that represent conservative administrations at this point in time, and the shift that they've taken. But yeah, and Vinny, of course, is he's kind of back and forth too. But I do like how I especially like when he's on Piers and he just starts ripping into people that are fucking stupid. When it comes to I hate to say it, but Tom more and more is coming off like a kiss ass. So I hate to say it, but because I think the guy's pretty reasonable, but he kind of seems to say what he thinks Patrick wants to hear more than what his opinion is. That's just what it seems like. I don't have any kind of, insight into his mindset, but so I could be wrong, but that's just the way the show seemed lately. So, but in this point, they're just discussing this. It seems like a fairly passive and mundane sort of discussion. There's nothing that seems openly controversial in this discussion they're having. So that's another reason why I don't understand this. But anyway, it's kind of a long clip, so I'll try to skip around if I can, but it's really important to hear this one. So here we go.
Here's Patrick Bet-David on his podcast a day or two ago. Watch this.
I don't know why Catholics, have this issue with Jews. I don't know what it is. They have this. I don't listen. I get the Jews have issues with Christians, and they'll make fun and they'll say stuff like, "Oh, your Jesus is gonna do." They'll say, "Well, he was a Jew anyways, right?"
Yeah. But I don't like how this is kind of treating everyone in these groups like a monolith. Like everyone that's a part of these denominations thinks this and this, but I get for the sake of having a discussion about it, they're simplifying it, I guess, to an extent, but it's still misleading to a degree to say like Jews believe this and Christians believe this or Catholics believe this. And so it's really weird, but anyway, that's not the problem though with Tucker. That's not the problem. So that's just my own observation.
But then Catholics have that issue with Jews. And they act like, they're all innocent and everything. And when you look at Catholics, the amount of centralized power they have. Centralized. If you know what the total Catholic population is worldwide? It's like 1.213 billion. Jews are 15 million.
15 million.
But Jews are decentralized, meaning Jews don't have somebody they listen to that says, hey, you better do this. Catholics, God forbid you say something about the Pope. They're like, hey, man, listen, who is that Pope figure in the Christian community? We don't have one. No. If I ask you right now who's the Pope in the Christian community, you don't have somebody to look at. Who is a witch pastor?
Yeah, exactly. No, they don't.
We don't have one.
It's an independent network.
It's just the Bible.
So if you look at only Catholics and Muslims have somebody that they look at as their supreme leader, like, you got to go to somebody. But even more, it's Catholic.
Well, there's only two theocracies in the world.
To point that out.
Catholicism, Islam. I'm sorry, the Islamic Republic of Iran.
Yep.
And the Vatican.
Yeah.
Those are the two major theocracies.
That's true.
So actually, the Vatican is very much like the Nazi Iranian government.
How the fuck do you come to that conclusion based on that, you smug fucking asshole? Like, what part of that gave you the impression that that was the natural progression of that discussion? No one's ever had any problem with the Iranian people, by the way. You know what the Iranian people are doing? They're asking the United States to hit targets. They're asking them to bomb more places. I'll talk about that more in detail later, but that's a bold fucking statement for you to make, considering the people in their own country want the United States to keep attacking the psychopaths who have been controlling them for the last, 47 years. So you can take the fucking smug little look on your face and fuck off with it, because that's ridiculous. But go on, keep explaining to us plebs what's going on here, Tucker. What's the deep insight?
The theocratic government, the mullahs, it's all basically the same. They've got the complicated dress. They hate the Jews, as Patrick Bet David just said. Catholics have a problem with the Jews. A problem with the Jews.
Having a problem with the Jews and hating the Jews is very different.
Slander.
No, it's not.
It's an attack on the world's largest and oldest Christian denomination, and it's taking place openly.
Oh, no.
And it's all
to hell with free
coming
speech.
from the same source, which is Israel. The issue is Israel. Anyone who supports the Netanyahu government, not Israel as a concept, not all Jews, no, the Netanyahu government, anyone who ratifies every decision, no matter how violent or grotesque or genocidal of the Netanyahu government, those are the good people.
That's right.
And anyone who does.
Once again, I'll make this bold statement. Anyone who accuses Israel and under the Netanyahu leadership of genocide, I'm going to make the wild statement that they themselves are the fucking lunatics. Because you can have your problems with Benjamin Netanyahu, that's fine. But to state that under any time period, the Israelis and their military are genociding anybody is so fucking ridiculous when you consider the lengths they have gone to avoid hitting civilian targets. And we just discussed this the other day, and it was perverted into something else. They were asking the children of Iran to go and stand in front of the power plants all over Iran at this time and this day. And why? Well, it was because that was when the United States was supposedly coming to bomb the power plants. That said a hell of a lot about whoever's in charge of Iran right now, did it not? Did it not say that maybe, just maybe, when you ask your citizens to go be lambs to the slaughter so that you can gain international sympathy, because you know that you are the ones that look really bad and you need public opinion back on your side as much as possible, you'll just go sacrifice the children of your country, just like when you tell them they need to wear a suicide vest and go blow themselves up. You sick fuck. And I heard some other piece of shit on BS Now, I think, talking about how, aren't they brave? They are standing in front of their power plants and making sure that Donald Trump and this evil administration doesn't get tempted to do it because they know they'd face pressure from the international community. First off, no, they wouldn't do it because they wouldn't kill innocent civilians on purpose. And number two, you know what people in Iran were saying? Bomb that damn thing. You know why? We're not getting energy from it. We're under a blackout. We have no internet and no electricity. The government's getting the electricity. We're not getting shit. Blow it up. They were saying that before they were forced, probably at gunpoint, to go march out to the freaking to the power plants. But once again, Tucker and his little feeble mind here is so convinced of genocide by Netanyahu just fuck yourself. Seriously, go fuck yourself. Jeez. I'm sorry, I'm getting really animated now, but hey, what's up, Emily? I'm sorry, man. You stepped in at a time where I'm getting really angry at this piece of garbage, but yeah, because I'm so tired of this rhetoric. I'm so tired of this stupid shit. Like, oh, they're trying to protect. Who the fuck are they trying to protect? Who are they trying to protect? Themselves. That's who they're trying to protect. They have no leader, unless you count the leader that we've only heard about in their own released statements. We've never heard his voice. We've never heard anything about the guy other than he's supposedly in critical condition in a hospital with one of his legs hurt or something, and he can't speak. Okay, well, you could still, I highly doubt that's the case after how long it's been, unless he's comatose now, and he will be for the rest of his life, in which he's not going to be the supreme leader. But like, this is just like, whoever's making the calls there, sorry, they obviously couldn't care less about the people of Iran. They do care when an American pilot gets shot down, and they can potentially go get the pilot and capture him and torture him and kill him. Then they're motivated to get out there. But once again, the people were motivated to get out there and block their freaking vehicles from getting to the crash site. That was pretty freaking inspiring. Nothing from their fucking government is inspiring, though, even though Tucker seems to be moved to near tears by this poor group of people who are trying to lead their country into a state of prosperity. That's all they want. That's all they want. It's just that evil Netanyahu's fault. What a piece of shit.
President is a Nazi, and by the way, their religion itself is a Nazi religion. It's an inherently anti-Semitic religion.
So Tucker, it's interesting. I watched this video a few times, and respectfully, I want to respond to you because you're a formidable voice. Whether I agree with you or not, you're somebody that's very good at getting your message out there. And I think at this point, if there's anybody that believes in your ability, it's a guy like this who, after I sold my company, offered you a $100 million contract. I even went on your friend Megyn Kelly's show when I announced it, and she was asking specific questions. I said, yep, we went to your house, we made the offer, then we spent some time together. I came to Maine, and we did your show, and we've had a couple good conversations together. So I believe in you. I think you're funny, quirky, very good communication, and you have your way of doing things. It's almost like you do twist words a lot, and I noticed you did that with me. He hates Catholics. He hates this. Catholics hate the Jews, and all the stuff that you did. It's a little bit of your shtick, which I get. But let me kind of get into a few things I want to address with you in this video, and maybe you're not aware of it. A few things you need to know about me. My number one priority is to make sure America stays as the greatest country in the world. Period, full stop. I'm America first. I'm a Christian, non-denominational Christian that you need to know about me. And by the way, I'm Armenian, which, by the way, the first nation that accepted Christianity as their religion was Armenians. And the only ones that debate Armenians on them being first is Assyrians, and my dad is Assyrian. Maybe that's the reason why my parents divorced each other twice, married each other, and divorced each other. So Armenian, Assyrian, Christian, America first. I want this thing to be the greatest country in the world. I want capitalism to be common sense for everybody, to realize that if a new person wants to come up and have their dreams become a reality, I want that to be out there. But I wonder if that's where you are today.
I don't know. He seemed to think capitalism and Christianity should be as far apart as possible. They are so diametrically opposed, but really it's communism that's so close to Christianity. Was it communism? Yeah. Yeah, wait. Or was it socialism? No. Socialism, that was it. Yeah. And if you want to talk about what the Nazis actually were, the Nazis were the National Socialist Party. That's what the Nazis were, literally. But Christians should be they should be socialists, of course.
You were always there for many years until what's happened with you the last couple of years. So let me kind of address a few things. So you said something a couple weeks ago. You said,
oh, you gotta bring it up right now.
Sharia law has made Islamic societies more advanced than the West. Huh. It's interesting. Sharia law has made Islamic societies more advanced than the West. It's a pretty bold statement.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you're selling Sharia law more than you're
Kind of a
selling
bullshit
America.
one, as a
You
matter
had a
of
guest on a
fact.
couple weeks ago. Your guest said, that capitalism should not be anywhere near Christianity. Christianity is socialism at its core. You almost agreed with them. And you're like, yes,
pretty
you
much
almost
did.
agreed with them. So socialism, Christianity at its core, you almost sound like you're supporting maybe a Mamdani in New York or maybe an Ilhan Omar. Maybe those two will be in your podcast in the next few months. I don't know.
That would be
I'm trying to
glorious.
see what you're solving for. See, this is kind of where I'm at with my life that most people don't know about, but let me kind of share it with you. For 7.5 years, I worked with Mormons. Guess what? I read everything I could on Mormons, and I realized it's not a denomination for me. I'm not interested. I watch all the videos you're not supposed to watch. Ask me how many bad experiences I had with Mormons. 0. They're phenomenal people.
Yeah, that's why. If you've ever seen the South Park episode where everyone ends up in hell after they're dead, and there's people in the crowd ask, "Hey, I've been a devout Catholic my whole life." And, yeah, I've been Protestant. I've been Jewish. What? And the guy in hell says, they ask, what did I do wrong? And he says, I'm afraid it was the Mormons. Yes, the Mormons is the correct answer. I love it. Because in South Park, the Mormons are always the super freaking, like, family values, high freaking agreeability, and super friendly, and can't say no. And, like they're portrayed as like these goofballs that are just the most super nice people on earth, but they believe such goofy things. It's crazy. But anyway, yeah, I loved that freaking point with the people ending up and asking what the correct religion was, and it was the Mormon.
I work with Seventh-day Adventists, and I learned that on Saturdays. There's Saturday, Sunday, all these different things. Very interesting. Guy named Juan Rivas, big community. Not for me, but guess what? I got along with them. Jews. I notice Jews, when I do business with them, it's very interesting if you negotiate with them. They're going to be very, very making sure they get all the benefits on their side. But ask me how many times I've had issues with Jews. Never. Okay, if you ask me about Catholics, I built an insurance company with 60,000 insurance agents, 54% Hispanic. And what do you think most Hispanics are? Catholics. Never had one issue with a single Catholic in my life. And last but not least, Islam, Muslim. I lived with them for 11 years. When you say Sharia law has made Islamic societies more advanced than the West, I lived with the IRGC and the Hezbollahs in Iran, where my mother and my sister were frightened to walk outside. That's this guy. I lived
Sounds
with
really
them.
advanced, doesn't
Okay?
it?
Not hypotheticals. And, we are now both very wealthy. You come from a very wealthy family. I think you also may have married into a wealthy family. And you made a lot of money. You made a lot of money in your life, and your business is doing very well today. When you go to dinner, you're having dinner with people that are going to make sure you see the best side of everything you go to. When I went to Mumbai, they showed me the best part of Mumbai. I went to the slums because I wanted to see what it looked like. Whatever part of the world I go to, I get treated royally today. Why? Because they want to show me the best. But I lived in the worst when our family had nothing. Literally nothing is what we had when we lived in Iran. Regular places, we lived in the city of Tehran. But as crazy as that is, do you know my chef that lives with us? When we go on the road, he's with us all the time. Do you know he's Muslim and he's Turkish and he's still a Muslim? And do you know what Turks did to Armenians and Assyrians? You ever heard of the Armenian genocide or the Assyrian genocide?
Ask
You ever heard of that?
about that.
1.5 million, 300,000, 200,000. I love this guy. He's a great guy to us. He's very good to us because I isolate the relationship with that individual. And I still tell him how concerned I am with what Islam could do to America. I am still concerned of that, of what's happened in many different societies. Look at, what they're doing in Minnesota, many markets that we read about. Look at what's going on in New York right now. Look at what's going on in a couple places in Plano on how they're growing. And so Charlie Kirk, whom you and I think, both admire, Charlie Kirk
I don't know so much anymore, but
once said,
maybe.
I think it was 2 days before he was killed. I think it was 1 day before he was killed. He said, Islam is the sword the left is using to slit the throat of America. Let me read it to you one more time.
Isn't that the truth?
Islam is the sword the left is using to slit the throat of America. Do you agree with Charlie? Because I do. I do. Because it's all like, hey, let's make it not a big deal. Let's be tolerant. Let's be tolerant Christians.
Yeah.
Sharia law has made Islamic societies more advanced than the West. Let's just be tolerant. It's okay. Let's be tolerant. Let's accept all this stuff. Let's allow all this immigration that's going on in UK. It's not a big deal.
Yeah,
They're not that bad. It's fine. They don't live the way you do. They just don't. They don't live by the values you and I live in America. They don't.
Remember what I talked about?
Now,
with
if you
integration?
I have a lot of friends that, like Andrew Tate chose to become a Muslim. If you've already converted, but you've not made the announcement publicly, listen, to each his own. You're making that decision as an adult. I support it. More power to you. But my priority is America first. My priority is to make sure we advance America in a way that young men are able to make enough money to get married and have 3+ kids, preferably 4, and be able to have their kids' dream become a reality where if they want to go build a business and make billions, do it. If you want to make millions, do it. If you want to go in the military, do it. If you want to go out there and, have a regular job, making $58,000 a year at whatever company, but you're happy about your job because you're a school teacher, go do it. That's what I want. And as a Christian man, non-denominational, Christ is king, I say that comfortably. My life changed the day I accepted Jesus Christ as my Savior, January 21st of 2004. I will say that to a Jew, to a Muslim, to a Catholic, to anybody. That's my faith. And every day I fall short. So I don't know. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know if you're trying to get behind a Massey, because I think he's a pretty capable, talented guy. I don't know if you want to run. I don't know what you're solving for. I don't know if you're like, well, I don't care if we win the midterms. I don't care. Let a Democrat win. Maybe sometimes America needs to go through the pruning process because I want to see destroy the GOP and start all over again. I don't know. Maybe that's the vision. If it is, more power to you. That's not my vision. My vision isn't that. And I have a sprinkle of libertarian in me because I want to be left alone and just kind of allow me to do that kind of stuff. So whenever I have the conversation and I listen to it, Dave, I agree with a lot of the stuff libertarians also believe in, but I think there's an end to it because we've already started a country the way that we are. And so you and I both get accused of something. I want you to process this, and I want you to know I'm open to it.
Here we go.
You get accused of, this guy, Tucker's taking money. Oh, Pat's a Zionist. He's taking money from Israel. Never been to Israel. AIPAC messaged me and told me, you want to come to Israel? I said, I have no interest in going to Israel for you to pay for me. I'm going to go one day with my pastor. We've never taken money from anybody. And I'm so confident with myself on what I've done because there's only one thing I fear in my life, and that's God. I don't fear anything more than I fear God. And trust me, I fear God a lot because this thing's like this. If you ever wanted to have fun, and let's just say, put it out there on the line, and again, I'll put the onus on you if you're open to this or not. Let's go hire 3 accounting firms. You pick one, I pick one, and let's get a third party that we both agree on, maybe like a KPMG, PwC, and BKD, hypothetically. Some of the biggest firms you probably recognize. You have money. You've done well for yourself. Let's have them do audited financials on me, my wife, and you and your wife, and report back to see if I've ever gotten paid from Israel, and report back to see if you've ever gotten paid from Qatar or Pakistan or any of these guys. All the businesses, all the LLCs, all the accounts. You know how this kind of works. They can kind of figure that out. And let's be honest with the audience.
Yeah.
Let's be honest with the audience.
Why not?
If you're open to it, I'm available. We'll have to spend $500,000, something like that, because it's going to take a few weeks for them to do it. I am fully open to that idea if you are. And by the way, I know this may make you feel uncomfortable. You don't have to accept this offer. But I'm telling you, I'm comfortable if you want to do it. You don't have to do it because it's a little bit private. So I'm sure you're going to come out and say, how dare he want to look at my wife's bank accounts and all this other stuff? Because some people may say, well, they can pay your wife and not through you. And I get that as well. And that's why I want to be a little bit transparent with you. I've tried many times to build a relationship with you. It's been challenging. But I do want you to know that as a Christian man myself, no matter how much you go to a place to not want to believe in somebody, I've been instructed by God to try to do my best to have some grace. And I believe in you. I believe in your abilities. But I believe in God and America more than I believe in any man in America because I've seen many great empires fall. And for as long as I'm alive and I'm kicking, and if God wants to use me as a voice to elevate how amazing of a country we live in, how lucky we are to be here, I'm going to use my voice to elevate that message.
Oh, man, I forgot how good, because, Patrick is, you might not catch it, it's kind of hard to catch it because it's not out there and as obvious as some people would make it. But man, he is the passive aggressive jabs there, and it's done on purpose. I don't like passive aggressive kind of people for the most part because it's just so dirty. Unless it's to someone who is already extremely passive aggressive, and that's what Tucker like embodies at this point. Just backhanded, snarky, smartass, um, you know, passive aggressive jabs at everybody except for like Dave Smith and every two-bit hack he has on the show that's willing to criticize this and that he thinks is the enemy of whatever it is he believes. I don't know what he believes in anymore. It's such a sad sight to see what he's become, though. It's such a sad thing. He used to be so. I was watching. I don't know how many of you out there watch Can't Cook the Tuck, but I loved that series when it was going on, and I've heard him express this, and I wonder. I'm sure a part of it comes from this, but he's talked about I was really mean on the show on Fox, and I wish I wasn't always so confrontational and so nasty to some people. It's like you were talking to people who said, like when you were talking about why you should have a black only group for what was it? What was the man? It was a holiday. It was a black only celebration of a holiday, and her answer was, "Boo hoo! You white people don't get to use your white privilege card to show up to the Black Lives Matter celebration. Wow! Oh, how terrible for you!" It's like I think you have the leeway to be nasty to someone as vile and openly racist as that, a segregationist, literally. So, if that's what you're looking back on and regretting, I wouldn't let that bother me. But once again, I don't get this is such a hard turn. It's a heel turn. It's such a extreme. And I don't know. I've heard some people talking about like there's these new shows he's on, like traditionally extremely left wing shows that all kiss his ass and tell him like how much they agree with him. They're total political opposites in the way that we have traditionally thought, and supposedly if he's still this Christian who's still believes in whatever denomination he believes in so strongly, it sounds like Catholicism, then there would be a little bit more grace afforded to his opponents. There'd be a little more self-respect than going on to channels that obviously completely disagree with you and mock your worldview and mock your religion and openly act like you are stupid for what you believe in. That is just, you're playing the part of their token friend who is a part of this group or that group that they can use as a way to have someone who. That's why they love Marjorie Taylor Greene so much right now, because it was the same reason they loved Liz Cheney so much for a while, which is pathetic that I'm lumping all these people together, but that's who they are. That's who they are. They leverage their former positions in a political party to gain favor with the other party for being someone who is a good one in the whole and there are no good ones to them. There's ones that can be used, but there's no good ones to them. These are just people they can get to pretend that that they have any ounce whatsoever of bipartisanship. Number one, they don't believe in bipartisanship, and number two, to have someone who is inside of circles they will never be a part of denounce them and have more legitimacy with the claims of denouncement than they will because they weren't actually a part of it. it's so transparently obvious, why people, leverage that when they have the opportunity. It doesn't come up very often, but I've got to say Tucker is leaning into it more than I've seen anyone in a long time really just lean into the role of, yeah, I'm a snake. Use me. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. Speaking of pathetic, I'm gonna leave us off on this. I think there's one more because I really wanted to play this, and we aren't gonna get to the bigger one today, unfortunately. I think there's once again gonna have to be some stuff I'm gonna have to leave for the next episode because I had no idea this was gonna be so in depth and so long on so many of these subjects. But there was a lot of important shit I got to in this one, so for sure that was good. Especially the part with I've been wanting to play this for a long time now. The Senator Murphy clip because man, they just openly saying it out loud that we believe in people we care about most are like he said, undocumented Americans. New word for the left. That's almost as good as minor attracted person instead of the PED word. But anyway, I don't like using internet terms because I'm not an influencer, just like all the other influencers out there. We influencers have a responsibility. Yeah, we influencers have a responsibility. That's why none of you are responsible whatsoever. When you call yourself an influencer, you are no longer responsible at all. Anyway, but I really do. This is probably someone who would put himself in that category. We talked about him last show, but I know that you guys probably can't get enough of him, like I can't get enough of him. Although that's bullshit. I can get very much enough of him because he's annoying as hell. But I didn't get to play this last time. I thought it would be kind of important, especially because this one is arguably even more egregious. Well, it's definitely more egregious. Just gives you a more stronger insight into what kind of person this guy is. So I've talked about Warren Smith. I've showed his clips even on the show before. Warren Smith, great. I mean, he seems like a really down to earth guy. He seems like a really friendly guy. Does a show on YouTube, a very short show, usually once a day as releases. He's been having a lot of conversation with Brian Shapiro, a lot of them. But Brian, you can tell, just hates his fucking guts. Of course he does, because he hates every Republican. Any conservative or anybody that's not Democrat, let's put it that way, because I don't think Warren is probably more, I see him more as a more moderate, kind of a independent that kind of leans a little bit more Republican, but certainly not a traditional conservative. But he despises Warren because Warren just sees through his bullshit so easily. But I think he thought he was going to teach him a real lesson in this one because he brings on this guy, this black guy, and I guess he was expecting this guy's going to show Warren what a racist he really is, and it's like he had to have thought he had this wonderful freaking show lined up in this one. This is this is Brian Shapiro bringing in his black friend to explain to Warren Smith how he's racist. So we'll close on this because there's not much. I'm not going to talk much more after this one. At least I'm going to try. I didn't get to bring. It's not. There's not a lot of clips that are up unless you can watch the whole thing if you want to. It's not an easy watch. It's not a fun watch. But I'm doing good, man. How are you doing? But anyway, the clip of Brian Shapiro with a 16-year-old high school student calls in, says his teachers treat him differently because he's a conservative, and Brian just keeps cutting him off and acting like he's lying and doesn't even want to listen to a word he says, is super skeptical. Meanwhile, like just before that guy called in, there was another guy who called in that once again went after Warren because he was trying to tell him, how there's so much racism amongst the people in this country. The cops are always going after people. They always use policing as the example, and it's like, well, okay, if there's a neighborhood that has a particular demographic of people predominantly in it, and there's crime in that area, there's naturally going to be more crime amongst that group of people, because let's say you even do something as mundane as, you know, running a stop sign, running a street light when there's no other traffic on the road, and you just happen to run a street light and a cop catches you. Now, if there's no cops around, they wouldn't see it, you wouldn't get ticketed. But because there's so many cops in the area for serious crimes, this is the same thing that happens with immigration. When you let the immigrants out of the jail where they could easily pick them up, and you let them back into the community, they have to go out into the community, and in that community, there's probably going to be more illegal immigrants, and if they find them, they're going to have to arrest them because they're there. So this is just a natural progression, once again, of people who are putting a lot more people at risk and then trying to act like, it wasn't my fault, it's because of the cops. It's like, no, it's because you're a dumbass who kept breaking the law, and you got so much heat on you, everyone around you got busted for doing what they were doing because you got busted. And you kept trying to flaunt it like you were some criminal mastermind. Anyway, they don't seem to understand this point. So they blame the cops, of course. But here's where it's interesting. Brian let that guy go on and on, didn't question him for a second, needed no evidence whatsoever, needed no convincing whatsoever. He just accepted that whole cloth. Some guy gets on and talks about how his teacher doesn't respect him because he's a conservative, though. Well, where's your evidence? What does he do? Blah, 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 blah. It's like, oh, so we're not having a known phenomenon everywhere of extremely hyper-partisan left-wing teachers who are constantly and happily, almost gleefully, punishing conservatives because they're conservative. Because the teachers union is not wildly democratic and donates tons of money to Democratic campaigns. That's not a thing. The teachers union, like Randy Weingarten, they're not Democrats. They're bipartisan. Fuck off. Anyway. Oh, cool. Yeah. Sorry, man. I was gonna call again, but I figured I thought I saw you in a game or something. But I have to run out to pick up some smokes after this. But then when I get back, I'll try to jump back on. Anyway, let's get to this video clip really quick, and then I'll call it a day. Yeah, that'd be just that time. And actually, how long is this? I just want to make sure it's not too long because I wasn't planning to go super long on this, but. Oh, I need to play that one. Oh well. All right. Oh, we'll save it for next time. Where is it? There it is. Okay. So, like I said, this is Brian Shapiro's token black friend going to teach Warren Smith all about racism.
I have a quick challenge for you. Tell me about your American prison system and who's in it.
And okay, we would need to answer the question, why is the crime statistics what it is? Why does that reflect? Because that's what's going to lead to the prison makeup. Largely, it's going to be socioeconomic. I also think there's a cultural component. But I think those are probably those two.
Explain that to me when you say that. I want to be
sure.
Clear on what you just said.
If you have a culture that romanticizes, let's say, Italians immigrating to America, they glorify the gangster lifestyle, the mafia lifestyle. The young boys in that specific neighborhood look up to the gangsters.
If you look back in old interviews, that's 100% true. You listen to Michael Francis, who talks about that a lot. Hell, look into the Irish mob in Boston and Whitey Bulger, and how many young kids grew up with this guy being like a like a myth or a legendary figure for the Irish American community because of his willingness to break the law and do whatever needed to be done on behalf of the Irish people in America. Of course, you know, it's all bullshit, but and just glorifying a culture of lawlessness. But only one side seems to not grow out of it, and that's people who are Democrats and completely unwilling to ever take responsibility for anything. So
They have everything. We saw it in Goodfellas. Could this be a factor that we're seeing from something like hip hop music that doesn't always glorify crime, but I think there would be objective data that we could pull from to say that there does seem to be a reflection of gang culture.
any reasonable
and
person would say
things that could lead to
absolutely, yes.
crime.
Actually, that is one of the most false narratives there is. When you are policing a community separately, differently,
What did I just say?
aggressively, you're going to
What was I just
put
talking
more
about?
people from that community in the justice criminal system.
And why are they
To
doing it?
then say, well, since a person dresses a certain way, listens to a certain
not
music,
because of
they
that.
must be involved in gang culture.
Right,
Black
but
kids.
15% of the population is committing approximately 50% of the crime, regardless of rap
And
music.
they are policed harder and with
because they commit more of the
judges
crime.
and jury systems a justification for saying I'm going to punish you more and give you longer sentences when I come into.
No, that's not true. Two things on that. Number one, that's usually because they have priors. So yeah, of course they're harder on them because they've already been into the prison system already. And here's another one. A lot of people don't understand this. I talked about this once before, but let me go into a little bit more detail because this is important. A lot of people believe that crack cocaine and powder cocaine, the disparities in the sentencing and arrests for crack cocaine is proof of racism for against black people. No, that's not true. You know why? Because the violence associated with the drugs are on a different level of production, or in the business world of cocaine, powder cocaine's violence is on a different level than the one for crack cocaine. In the world of powder cocaine, the violence was very, very prominent at the production and higher earner levels. That is why, as we've talked about before, Pablo Escobar in Colombia was such a high profile and highly renowned figure in illegal groups, because he was able to thrive in a hyper violent group of people in a very, very violent business for so long, and it was actually the United States government that ended up killing him, not a rival gang or any other cocaine producers or distributors in the Latin American areas. That's where the violence was. It was at that level, not on the level of distribution, because when it came to the United States, cocaine has always been known, powder cocaine at least, has always been known as a wealthy man's drug, because it doesn't last very long in your system. You have to do a lot of it to keep the high going, and it costs a lot to keep buying more and more and more. It's a party drug. It's things like that. Crack cocaine, by contrast, is done by, first off, diluting it a lot. It involves diluting cocaine, and then putting it through a process that's very easy to do in a kitchen, for example. And the violence was all at street level among street gangs. That's why it was mostly black and Hispanics that were arrested for crack cocaine violations. It has nothing to do with the race. It has to do with the level of violence. In America, gangbang culture involves always carrying and always being ready to use it. So if that's where the violence is taking place, then yes, of course, people aren't going to be pulling their heat out in a rave where a guy's selling 8 balls of powder cocaine. they're going to pull it out on a street corner where poor people are buying small amounts of powder of crack cocaine. It's not racism. It's where the violence happens. And sorry that, you know, your worldview is built around being a victim, but it's not true. That's just not that's just not why. That's not, and it's so amazing that, you know, the first thought always goes to racism. That's why this happens. That's why that happens. No, there can be other explanations for things. There can be other reasons for things beyond racism. Anyway, that's one that just, I always have to try to correct, because people just refuse to understand that, or they just are convincing themselves that no, that can't be the case. That can't be the case. Once again, look at Pablo Escobar. Read up about his life. His life in the Colombian drug trade, in the Colombian cocaine trade. I mean, it's a bloody, violent life. There's no executive level that has clean hands in the cocaine trade. And I'm not just talking about ordering hits. I'm talking about being part of them. So anyway, why did this freeze up again? Sorry, I hope that didn't freeze up on anybody else. Anyway, let's get back to this. This is already about halfway done. Yeah.
Your community, and that is also lacking understanding of the community that you're in. Just because I walk a certain way, because I dress a certain way, you're automatically tying me to something, a crime.
I think it is. You're making a huge judgment on somebody.
Yeah, here we go.
Because they're dressing different than you.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, and I personally believe, in my definition, that when you judge an entire group, that's a bigoted view. And that was
how am I judging an entire race of people?
You're making a judgment about
a meme.
You're making okay, but you're making a judgment about somebody because
he's trying to see. The problem is he refuses to acknowledge the fact that every black person in the United States doesn't sag their pants below their ass, doesn't wear their flag around their waist, and doesn't throw gang signs and act like they're part of some kind of hip hop culture or gang culture. There's plenty of black people that, but I knew black metalheads back when I used to only be into heavy rock music. I used to go to metal concerts with black people, all the time. Not every black person is dressed up like in the way Brian is trying to describe it. This isn't making a judgment about people. This is making a judgment about a style that coincides with a certain culture based on a certain history that led to it. That's the reason why. And the judgment is well founded because guess who commonly is most responsible for the crimes that you're talking about? You can't look at data and find a conclusion and then say, well, this conclusion it should be ignored because it's racist. Sorry if you're uncomfortable by it, but I'm going to choose self-preservation. You can keep calling me racist. I'm still glad I'm alive. And I don't need Brian Shapiro's approval to keep living.
because of the way they dress, because they don't dress like you. But it's not my debate. Go ahead.
We just saw this happen in Texas.
Oh, we did we?
Where whites will not vote for the most qualified person.
Oh, this is bullshit.
You know, I don't really want to go down that rabbit hole talking about Donald Trump.
How is that not a racist statement?
Hold on a second. Warren is saying that you just made a racist statement. I disagree.
If I were to say black people don't vote for the smartest candidate, that would be racist. I'm making a judgment about an entire race of people under Brian's definition. But when you do it, it's not racist.
How do you not see when a black person is qualified and whites won't vote for him? But on the other end, blacks have voted for whatever.
Hang on. Can we dig into that?
By the way, less than 1%.
But is that statement racist? I didn't get a response to my question.
Is my statement racist or yours?
I don't think you're a racist person. I'm just trying to point out the hypocrisy around the definition.
And once again, racism is who has the power. This is really
Can't be
one of
racist
those
against
things.
white people.
One of those things that
Yeah.
white America likes to do. They like to play victim to this reverse racism thing.
This is the problem I have with critical race theory is that under your logic, you can't be racist towards white
Hot
people
meat
because
kettle.
you view white people as the group in power.
No.
No,
I don't
just
define
no. Just said
white
no.
people. I do not define white people as a whole as being racist. The white power structure.
Oh, the white
What is
power
the white
structure.
That is
power
the white
structure?
power structure. I'll give you a good example right now.
Donald Trump's base. I'm sorry, go ahead.
His base,
Yeah.
it would be one, and for what the reasons that they will clearly state themselves, and the
what
reasons that they
reasons are those?
cannot give you a definition of why they support this man.
No,
they
they
can't
give you
even tell
plenty of
you.
them. You
They
just
can
reject them.
You can, okay?
Yeah.
But the base, no, they can't. And then if we want
How
to
the-
talk about
what the
DEI,
fuck?
can we
Who's
get
being
a
racist
good look
here?
at what's in his cabinet right now?
Who's being judgmental here? This is so pathetic. This is what I mean. So this is his grand race expert that's gonna teach Warren Smith why he's racist. All I learned was that guy was more judgmental and more racist than anybody else that Brian's brought on his show. Pretty interesting, right? And that's the real lesson with the progressive movement. They're the biggest fucking hypocritical liars I've ever seen in any political movement in my life. They are so absolutely blatantly full of hypocrisy. It's hard to even believe. But there you have it. The worldview of two idiots. And this is the same, meetup, by the way, where Brian goes in hard on this 16-year-old kid who thinks his teacher is being a little too hard on him because he's conservative, but he just refuses to acknowledge that that's even possible. So, once again, and the idea that, well, white people and just Trump voters in general, there's a reason, probably even worse than white people, that black Democrats and Democrats in general, even white Democrats, are given license to call black conservatives every name in the book. There's a reason why. There's a reason why when Larry Elder was running for governor of California, a white girl in a gorilla mask threw an egg at his head, missed, and had to be dragged off by Larry Elder's freaking security. Because a black man in the conservative party, you're just brainwashed. You've been brainwashed to tap dance for the white man. It's some of the most disgusting, evil attacks I've ever heard, and it's totally acceptable by these fucking people that are trying to fucking virtue signal their own fucking moral superiority all the time. You can't get any more sick than that. And that's one of many reasons why Brian Shapiro is an absolute sack of fucking shit. So I'll leave it at that. I'll talk to you guys soon. I don't know. There's a few more things I forgot to go over in this episode, but we can bring them up next time. There's a little fun spat between what's his name, Scott Jennings and guess who's back? David Hogg's back. Everyone's favorite little gun control advocate, whose claim to fame is he hung up on the president. Wow. Amazing. Anyway, though, it is a funny back and forth where Scott just kind of owns him and makes David Hogg go running to Abby Phillips for, Abby, you believe this too, right? Yeah, David, I'm sure he does. Freudian slip? No, I don't know. Anyway, I didn't bring that up. There's a couple other things, and I swear I'm going to go over the ride along with ICE in one of the episodes soon for sure. As soon as things calm down enough that I can cover it. But thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Tomorrow's Sunday, so I won't be on tomorrow. I really am trying to make it on more often. I'm at least doing multiple shows a week, and I'm staying awake for them. But hopefully I will be on by Monday. But if not, it'll be Tuesday at the latest. So I'll talk to you guys then. Until then, take care of yourselves. Have a good night, and I'll see you next time. Peace.
In 5, 4, 3. That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. And we will leave you with a. I can't do it. Okay. We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it, and we'll do it live.